doing, John?
Hi, Marty.
How you doing?
I'm doing stellar.
Awesome.
I'm, I'm reveling in my character defects. I'm seeing, I'm seeing them as the avenue to my, I'm going to use a big word, liberation.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So they're like pointers for me.
Cool. I'm feeling awesome myself.
Cool.
It's a beautiful day here in Sacramento as we prepare for a rainy sketch coming up starting Sunday.
Okay.
So I might be able to get some drinking water out of it.
Yeah, that'd be good. Let put Folsom Lake up to 25%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, a couple things I want to possibly discuss. I just 15 minutes ago picked this up out of my mailbox. It's Brene Brown's new book called Atlas of the Heart.
Oh, wow.
And, Brene Brown is a very interesting character. Many people who watch this podcast have probably seen her videos, does a lot of stuff. She's famous for her, her thing that she did about 10 years ago on vulnerability. It was her very
Yeah.
first, her first public, going public with some of the stuff that she'd been studying. And I was actually taken by the what's in the table of contents. I just like to skim over this. I haven't had a chance to read any of this at all, but I thought it's really in alignment with what we've been talking about and what we're working on.
Mhm.
So the first chapter is called Places We Go When Things Are Uncertain or Too Much. And then so each chapter has that kind of heading. And then she
Mhm.
talks about the emotional experience that that activity engenders.
Yep.
So places we go when things are uncertain or too much: stress, overwhelm, anxiety, worry, avoidance, excitement, dread, fear, vulnerability.
Yep.
Number two, places we go when we compare: comparison, admiration, reverence, envy, jealousy, resentment, schadenfreude, and freudenfreude. Places we go when things don't go as planned: boredom, disappointment, expectations, regret, discouragement, resignation, frustration. And so she goes on this way for 13 chapters. Places we go when it's beyond us, places we go when things aren't what they seem, places we go when we're hurting, places we go with others, places we go when we shall fall short, places we go when we search for connection, places we go when the heart is open, places we
Mhm.
go when life is good. I think you just gave a testimonial to that one. Places we go when we feel wronged. And finally, places we go to self-assess. So I intend to work through that book and share whatever I learned there that I didn't know before.
Right. Well, this is a good segue. I never know why I say what I say, and when I said I'm reveling in my character defects, and then you brought that book up, and places we go, I'm reveling in the places I go,
Yeah.
because I know that place is triggered by a subconscious unresolved trauma. So instead of trying to get out of that place, I settle into and accept I'm being mean. I feel inadequate. I'm lost. Um, I feel that feeling of dread. And I simply feel the feeling and without blame or judgment, without the story that goes with the feeling. It's like I used to go, oh, I'm sad. Why am I sad? How come I shouldn't be sad? I got all these good things. Instead of doing that, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling that feeling of dread, and then just sit there without the story of it. And in intentional living, the accountability tree process, when you just simply state the truth without blame or judgment, And I want to talk a little bit about what that means without blame or judgment. And then sit in the feeling. It's the statement that validates what happened to me to create the state I find myself. Instead of fighting the dread, I simply, oh, I'm feeling dread. Take a breath, and my body knows how to go to the subconscious part of myself where I've buried all these traumas. And frequency wise, it's not, sometimes I know the details, sometimes I remember an event. And for the most part, it's just a validation is like a harmonic note or a note that sounds the same. It's like they talk about if you have two guitars that are tuned the same and you pluck one string, the other string vibrates. Well, when I say I'm feeling dread, whatever happened to me in my childhood that created that feeling of dread resonates. And then it comes into my body in a frequency. And then I say, it is my intent to forgive myself. It is my intent to be kind. It is my intent to hold myself in this high esteem. And that frequency is at the same tonal frequency of the trauma, which is validating what happened. And then that's a healing. And when that's healed, it sets back down into my subconscious with the marker of it is my intent to forgive myself, or it is my intent to hold myself in high regard, which now becomes the motivating information, motivating my current reality. My sense of being here now is changed through this process. So, wow, yeah, I'm interested in what she has to say, and we'll have a discussion about what she says. This intentional living isn't the way; it's a way. And Brene Brown is brilliant. She talks about vulnerability and shame and the impact of that. Gabor Mate talks about early childhood trauma. Basil van der Kolk talks about that trauma. Peter Levine, and they all have techniques and ways to address the pain, the hurt, the humiliation. Um, Living intentionally is one of those ways, and it works really well for me, and seems to work well for the people I talk to, or people willing to talk to me about it. So,
Would you be willing to go a little bit more deeply into the distinction between the feeling as a genuine embodied experience versus the story that it often simultaneously brings to mind?
okay.
So, for example,
Yeah.
I can feel that sense of dread, and I don't know if we're having the exact same vibration, but for me, dread is something in my gut that feels persistent, and then my mind almost automatically then generates a catastrophic thought.
Yeah.
Something bad is about to happen. I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and somebody was talking about financial dread, and it's like, yeah, I've laid in bed at night wondering how the heck I was going to pay my bills.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with money or anything. It was just dread that first there was a feeling, and then there was the story.
Right.
And the value in this work of seeking to stay with the actual sensation as best we can.
Yes. So, in my family of origin, anytime I was chastised for being too loud as a child, and this goes beyond that. As an infant, my mother was I was incested, and I want to say tormented, and that experience in my little baby's body held a frequency, and then I would find myself as an adult for the most part of my life, from even into my recovery, and sometimes today, waking up with this feeling of dread. Well, that feeling of dread is in alignment with what happened to that infant. So I would wake up before my recovery and well into my recovery and go, oh, what is it I need to do? Oh, life sucks. Or something would come up about what happened yesterday and somebody said something and I didn't like it and I didn't know what to say. So I'd go into these machinations about why I'm feeling dread. Why am I feeling dread? And it would put me up into a thought process. Now I simply go, oh, there's that feeling. And instead of going into whatever story I used to tell, I simply go, I take the breath and I let my body experience that. I go to the body sensation. And body sensations are physical feelings, and they're not nothing. They're energetic frequency. It's a vibration. Otherwise, it's like my body wouldn't feel it. So I mean, to make an analogy, is if I'm in a room and somebody's pounding a drum, I not only hear the drum, I feel the drum. Okay, so these stuff feelings are locked in my body, and the end result is I have this sense of dread. Well, as an adult, rationally, there's nothing going on that I should feel dread. So I criticize myself or chastise myself or say to myself, what am I doing? I shouldn't feel this way. And I get into a story or rationale about that feeling instead of just going, oh, feeling the body sensation that little child felt, that little baby felt when it was being brutalized, um, not knowing what was going on and not knowing how to handle it, so it gets stuffed so that we can survive. I could survive. So, okay, feeling of dread in current reality. It makes no sense. I'm doing well. I money in the bank. People like me. I'm doing my job. Everything's going well, and I wake up with a sense of dread. And then I start making a story about it. We got to find out why. Or in the story includes self-critical. What's wrong with you? There's something wrong. Or for me, for the most part, I would pick somebody in my life that did something to me to make me feel this way. So I would stay in my head, in my thinking about the dread instead of feeling the frequency of dread. Now, dread is a label. The frequency is constricting, heavy. My shoulders get heavy. I clench. I draw my shoulders up like I'm defending myself. My neck, I put my head down. That sensation, that reaction is a defensive posture. Okay, defending what? I'm a 250-pound, 6 foot. What am I defending? Who's that? That's the what was imprinted on me as an infant, and it's unresolved. Oh well, now a lot of it has been resolved. So I'll get the feeling of dread. It'll be what I would comparatively say it is 1/10 of what I'm normally feeling before my recovery. And I know now that it's a stuffed trauma. So I just, oh, I'm feeling dread. And that's what I mean by I'm reveling in my character defects. I'm reveling in my feelings of dread because now I know, that's from my childhood because there is nothing going on in my current reality that would warrant that feeling of constriction. So I just feel it, take a breath, and allow. And the frequency validates what happened to that infant, that toddler. And I don't have to know the detail. My body knows how to do frequency, it knows how to heal. I just allow. And then I'll say, okay, I'm feeling that dread. I'll breathe and I'll say that what happened to me as a child was unfair. In fact, it was cruel. And that expression was what the infant couldn't say. It couldn't say, stop, that's not fair, that's cruel, what are you doing to me? Because it didn't have the wherewithal to put it together. I do now, only because I know that the feeling of dread, and that's where we're at right now, feeling of dread, it could be a feeling of anxiety, it could be a feeling of panic, it could be startle. And right now we're talking about dread, so I just feel that dread, take a breath, and it is my intent to nurture myself, or it is my intent to validate myself. And that is what I didn't get as an infant, to process these feelings, and they get unstuck. They're not stuffed anymore. They're brought up into awareness, into what you might call the light, and they're validated. And I am the pool of information that is informing my feeling state in the present moment has been healed, changed, what I call reframed. And so the feeling of dread in my recovery has gone, if I have, it's not linear, but I say before my recovery, it was at 100. Now it's at a 10. Okay. That is healing. And I know that if I keep doing this, and not judge myself for having the feeling of dread, because, oh man, I've been in recovery 33 years, I've been doing this work for 25, I shouldn't be. No, that's an expectation. That's the story. No, it's still in there. There's still something in there. That's why I say reveling in my character defects, because once I find one, if I become sarcastic or flippant, or I go, oh, excuse me, I want to be accountable to you for what I just said because it was demeaning, and I know that this is something advantageous for myself if I own it, if I just be in that feeling. It is my intent to be kind, or is my intent to be nurturing, or is my intent to listen. Whatever it is that's going on in my current reality that that I want. So I was, especially when I talk to men, I talk to them, what are you feeling? They most of the time look up to find the feeling. Well, feelings are physical. They're in my body. That is a foreign idea to most men. That is like, it's like, feelings are thoughts. Because that's usually where, when I ask some guy or most people, what are you feeling? Well, I feel like I'm doing okay. Well, if you think you're doing okay, how do you feel? What's the body sensation? And that is been, well, I'll just use myself as an example. I was so estranged from my body, I had no idea what a feeling was. I would talk about feelings like I'm supposed to know, so I would act like I have a feeling of, I would never say I'm scared because I'm a man. I shouldn't be scared, And now that I know that feelings are a vibration, a physical vibration, and it's in my body, it's like, oh, I have access to my emotional feeling body. And one of the axioms in the program is you can't heal it if you can't feel it, which when I first heard that was asinine. It was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Now I understand that, oh, I have this feeling of dread or this feeling of anxiety, and there's nothing going on here. Oh, okay, it's from all right, I just feel it. It is my intent to stick up for myself. It is my intent to say, no, you can't do that to me anymore. And that proactive, that being proactive is what the infant couldn't do, isn't what the toddler couldn't do. The child, he couldn't be proactive and say, stop, that hurts, quit doing that to me, because he didn't know the difference. He thought that was normal. I thought that was normal.
We had nothing against which to compare it.
Yeah, I had nothing. Okay. And before I got this information, as an adult, I still had nothing to compare it to until I got a point of reference that feelings are frequency And in my body, it's like, that's okay. Ooh, what the hell does that mean? And the practice of this accountability process, I'm real familiar with what a feeling is. And the feeling, I want to just say this one thing, is a receiving of the emotion, which is invisible information. When my body receives it, it has a resonance feeling. I can feel it in my shoulders, I can feel it in my gut, I can feel it in my heart space, constricted, open, light. Um, One time with you and Daniel on our last podcast, I had a feeling of um, anger, and it was in my hands. And I just felt it. It's like, it doesn't have to make sense to me. Oh yeah, oh yeah, what Dad did was mean. It was insensitive, and I had no way to like tell him that that hurt. Now I do, and I can say it to myself. When he did that, it hurt. Validated myself, and the trauma is relieved. I still have the memory of what he did, but it doesn't adversely affect me anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of things I'd like to explore further. First, a question is when our minds takes an unhappy or unpleasant feeling and turns it into a story, is that partly a mechanism by which to not feel? Is that
Yes.
is that a defensive response that we taught ourselves?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's come up with a reason why. It's like um, in the addiction field, it's called rationalizing. People struggle to quit using and find that they cannot. And when they do, they rationalize it. They go, oh, I did that because she, or I wouldn't have done that, or I could like kick this habit if I'm strong enough. So that rationalization keeps us in our cognitive rational mind, which has no power over our subconscious mind in the judgment and the blame. That's what I wanted to say about the accountability truth process, telling the truth. I feel dread. No blame, no judgment. And I knew this when I created it, and it's been reinforced over the last couple of weeks. That that concept of saying I feel dread. And let's pick another one, because I realized at one point in my recovery that I was a liar. Although I didn't want anybody to know it and I didn't want to admit it, I'm a liar. And I said that with no blame or judgment, no story running in my head, no excuse, no rationale. That no blame, no judgment is the unconditionality that I was looking for from my parents that I did not get. So it's the unconditional space that I see you now, and I see you're hurting, or I see you're confused, or I see you're mean and you're owning it without, oh, you asshole, how come you did that? Why did you do this? And those questions bring me back up into I need to defend this. When I say I'm a liar, I say I'm not going to defend it, because based on my childhood, yes, I'm a liar. Yes, I would lie. Yes, I learned to lie so that I wouldn't get that destructive energy focused on me, or the chastisement, or the ridicule, or the humiliation. Yeah, me lying is in alignment with my childhood trauma. Now, me lying also creates separation in my current reality. That's true. It creates pain. It impacts the people around me. It creates confusion, pain, and destruction in them also. That is true. But lying is not out of alignment with what happened to me as a child, so that I can now experience my pain and the disappointment I see in the people around me for that behavior, which, oh, it is my intent to be honest. And I breathe. And then I find myself, when I first started this, what I found is I didn't lie as much. Or when I did lie, I go, oh, there I am again. I'm lying again. So it's the awareness. The awareness comes to me. and you can't do anything you're not aware of. You can't do anything about something you're not aware of. And it's in the 3 questions about how you be present in the moment. You answer these 3 questions. Who am I? Where am I? What do I want? The who am I is I'm a gentle, loving, empowering whole man. I'm not the dumbass my dad said I was. I'm a gentle, loving, empowering whole man. Where am I is in some character defect, avoidant behavior that's hurting me and causing separation in my life. Okay, feel that. What do I want? It is my intent to be kind. It is my intent to be gracious. It is my intent to hold myself in high esteem instead of being that self-critical, self-deprecating person that I used to be.
So in the practice then, when I find myself experiencing something just uncomfortable, disquieting, painful, and I notice the explanation or the automatic drama storyline coming up, what's the practice there?
Breathe. When you're taking a deep breath, you're not thinking because your body's in the process of breathing. Just anybody that's listening to this right now, just take a nice long deep breath, breathe in, count 8, breathe in, pause, count, I don't know, 3 or 4, breathe out, and you had a moment where you were out of, well, I was out of my critical mind, or I'm out of my mind, and into this heart space, which Brene Brown talks about, this space that is open and loving and non-judgmental. Yeah, so it's like, how do you stop the story? Well,
I don't know that stop the story is the actual question, because I don't want to stop anything, because that's trauma, that's violence.
correct.
What
Yeah.
I want to do is use it.
Yes.
To revel. I'll use John language, to revel, or at least return myself. Oh, I'm trying to not feel this. I'm going back to the feeling.
Right. Exactly.
I notice the story is pulling me away from this feeling, and I don't blame it, and I'm willing to stay in this discomfort.
So one of the ways is how I phrase, like, I need to, I should, I shouldn't, I should be able to get
Right.
through. I should be on this. That's the story. Or I wouldn't. Oh, she did that. She did that yesterday, and that's why. No, that's the story.
Another one that I hear people do a lot is, why am I doing this? Why is this
Exactly.
happening to me?
Oh my God.
The why question.
You just hit on the mother lode of avoidance. Why? That why question, why did I do that, takes you out of your body, right up into your head, rationalization, self-critical, other deprecating, self-deprecating, other deprecating. So what I tell people when I hear them say why, I said, well, why is because family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma, period. That answers any why question. Why am I doing what I don't want to do? Family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma. So make a statement. I just did that. I was mean. I was dismissive. I was defending myself. I was cruel. I was judgmental. I'm vengeful. Oh, not why am I vengeful? I'm vengeful because family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma that creates resentment, bitterness, and contempt, that I spit on everybody. And instead of just continuing to do that and rationalize it, I just own, I spit poison. I'm mean. I'm cruel. Oh, and that statement, minus the why, is a statement of truth. The resonance, the frequency vibrates with the cause, which is the trauma, and it, oh, yeah, and goes back down into your subconscious healing.
One of your students said that she heard you say that whenever I ask myself why, substitute the word what. What's
Oh,
going, sort of, why is this happening? What's happening?
well, that's interesting that she heard me say that. I never remember saying that. And I'm not saying that's not what you heard me say. Um, what I say is drop the why, make a statement. I did that.
Right. Well, that's what I
And
heard when
then
she said that. So, because here's what's happened.
here's, okay, yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. I just dismissed you. I
Right.
just was sarcastic and biting. Okay, all right. Yeah, yeah, it was. It's my intent to be kind. It is my intent to hold you in high esteem. It is my intent to be nurturing. Yeah.
Another observation I have about this very, very important and foundational topic is that my observation from my own experience and then working with others is that sometimes the childhood trauma, family of origin dysfunction is so deeply embedded in our life experience that we can use outside help, professional help. And as I've shared on this podcast, I've worked with a family trauma healing therapist for several years, and it really augmented the work that I do here in the accountability
Yes.
practice. And
Mhm.
sometimes I just notice people are really, really stuck. And it's like this tractor beam in Star Wars, or people are just pulled back into this, the child's fundamental need to be safe in this crazy traumatic experience. That's where we felt safe in a very illogical, paradoxical kind of way. You said last week, you used a phrase which I'd never heard before, which I love. It's like, I feel the need to return to that body chemistry of trauma. And that sometimes is so powerful that we can use some help
Yes.
in helping alleviate the power of that trauma.
Yeah.
And there are different, you mentioned Bessel van der Kolk, certainly in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, he talks about a number of therapies that have been developed to deal with PTSD, both simple PTSD and complex PTSD, which all have the effect of helping break down the resistance to healing, to flow, because the actual healing is allowing these repressed emotions to finally be released. That's what, when you talk about that, I hear that when you talk about the resonance between the mind and the body, when the aha moment comes, it's because we've talked about this before, there's a release, there's an actual physical release. You can see it in people's faces, you can see it in people's body, you can hear it in people's vocal tone, that something physical has just occurred. Or we can call it physical/emotional. Something has just occurred that allowed an alignment between the inner and the outer, or the subconscious and the conscious mind, to finally just be as one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A couple things in there. The thing is, there's the modalities that really work well for me is EMDR. And I'm not sure what the EMDR stands for. There's something that came, I don't know, it's from that or from another person. It's called brain spotting, where the eyes will flicker, and then they hone in on what that frequency is. Peter Levine's somatic experiencing, he has trained therapists throughout the United States to take people through the somatic experience of the trauma. Those are the ones I can think of right now.
My
That are
therapist also
effective.
uses family constellation work.
Yes, that's another one. Yeah.
And then in his Wisdom of Trauma video, Gabor Mate talks about the rediscovered ground of using psychotropic medicines to help unblock or to relax the traumatic, or whatever's blocking the release of the emotion.
Right. Yeah, and that's with some clinicians and some experienced shaman type people that know the medicine and know, and it's done with intent. It's not recreational. It's like, okay, this is what I want from this experience, from this ingestion of whatever the psychotropic medicine is. So yeah, and the other thing is when we talk about emotions and body, somehow that got two different things. And I am an emotional being. I embody an emotional frequency. It's like, as a human being, planet Earth, carbon-based life form, biochemical, electromagnetic being, I'm in I have an emotional body that I want to say is bigger than my physical body. And it's part of my body. My feeling body is internal to my physicalness. It's in my body, in my viscera, in my muscular skeletal system. That's the receiver. The emotions are these invisible means of information. It's like we know this, we talk about it, but we talk around it. It's like I've heard a lot of people talk about you walk into a room and you can cut the tension with a knife. Well, that's our emotional body sensing something that amiss. There's some tension here. We don't know where it is. Everybody looks happy and they're drinking and everybody's having fun, but there's something going on that I'm clued into through my emotional body. So John Donovan has a physical body, a feeling body, and an emotional body, and they're all the same thing. It's like I remember in religion class, the priest was saying God is a Trinity, God the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and it's a mystery. And I'm thinking, well, no, you just said that he's three in one. Why is that a mystery? You just said it, and then now you're calling it a mystery. So it's like, what did I miss? Same thing. Same thing with me. It's like John Donovan is a physical, emotional, feeling being. Then I'm gender. Then I'm masculine. And for women, they'd be feminine. We are emotional beings. So there's actually, we cannot separate our emotional sense from ourselves. We can deny it. We can stuff it. We can demean, diminish it, and ridicule it. We can do all those things. We cannot not be in an emotional state. It is who we are as human beings. We can be estranged from our emotional body, and that's where the rationalization story comes in. Instead of feeling, having the feeling and recognizing there's information coming in, we go, oh, that's sissy, that's weak, I don't want to be weak. And then we lose contact with the frequency, the information that is vital to our thriving. Our five senses, see, hear, taste, touch, smell, allows us to survive, to see, so we don't bump our head on low-hanging objects. That's our survival senses. The other sense, our emotional feeling body, enables us to thrive as we're surviving. And it's John Donovan, emotional being. And there's, I don't know how many books have been written about our emotions. And it's like there's something outside of ourselves or something we got to learn about, or actually what we lost in our childhood was the connection to them. My grandson is fully connected to his body, his emotion and feeling body. He has no equivocation that he's frustrated or irritated or angry or doesn't like. I called him, I was talking with him one time and I called him Buster Brown. Hey, Buster Brown. He said, I don't like that, Grandpa. Well, where did he come up with that? Well, Buster Brown, in my childhood, was a derogatory comment. Buster Brown. So he felt it, and he goes, "Grandpa, I don't like that. I don't like it when you say that to me." I said, "Oh, okay. How about if I call you Buddy?" He goes, "Well, I don't like that either." He's come to like Buddy because I call him Buddy all the time. He feels the endearment of that statement, but he did not like Buster Brown. And other people have said something to him, and he says, "I don't like that." How does he know he doesn't like that? From his feeling body. There's something amiss. He paid attention and expressed it all in the same moment.
Well,
Amazing.
I think what you're going to find interesting now that he's at the age he is, because there's another element of our humanity that we talk about a lot that you didn't put into your Trinity, which is, but you talked about rational, which is thinking, mentating,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking comes after the thinking body develops out of the emotional body. So the
Yes.
emotional body is there present at the beginning. The
Yeah.
thinking body is not. The
No.
thinking body begins to develop. We know that, for example, the brain is not even fully developed for 12 months after birth. So
Right.
the brain itself is growing with this emotional state.
Yep.
It's surrounded by and penetrated by this emotional state. So now we get to the age 4 or 5, most of us 4 or 5, and the light of self-awareness gets turned on, and we start thinking and analyzing. And so it's going to be interesting to see, based on his experience in his emotional body, how his thinking comports with what his emotional body is telling him. You
Yes.
talked about last week. You mentioned, and you've talked about it before, him trying out "Sad," I think it
Yeah.
was, in the back
Mm-hmm.
seat of the car, and
Yeah.
that to me is that, okay, now this the mental world is seeking to integrate or to express this emotional world,
Mm-hmm.
and the only place he can learn about that is is the environment that he's in,
Yeah. Yeah.
because again, we're not innately capable of creating our own um, thoughts. We need language and all the other social implements that we're raised within, the environment that we're
Mm-hmm.
raised within.
Mm-hmm.
So what we learned in our family of origin, childhood trauma, was to have our thoughts comport with the defenses that we had created. And that's one of
Yep.
the reasons that, as I understand it, that when I'm feeling, let's go all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, when I'm feeling that sense of dread, I automatically have an explanation, because that's helping me keep that sense of dread in place.
Yep.
There's a reason for that sense of dread that I don't need as an adult, but somehow I needed it as a kid.
Yes.
It kept me alert, because one of the symptoms that you didn't mention when you're, because I was thinking of, is also elevated heartbeat. And
Yes.
so that's alert. I'm hyper vigilant. There's something I got to pay attention to. You said there's also oftentimes a sense I have to do something. I
Yep.
have to fix, flee, whatever. I have to make something occur, so this, whatever it is that I'm dreading will happen, won't happen.
Right.
So we have all of those responses, and that's just, again, that's how we develop as humans. That
Yep.
thinking, this is just a theory. No one's tested this in a laboratory, but that the thinking mind is trained by the emotional mind, at least with respect to childhood trauma, love equals, all of those fundamental experiences that we have in our social connection with ourselves and others.
You just tapped into the mystical world of gurus and shamans and enlightened people. Um, I listened to this one guy. It's really cool. Sadhguru, and he, when his daughter was really young, he was traveling and doing his guru thing,
Right.
and he took his daughter with him because his wife died, the child's mother died, and he told everybody, do not teach this child anything. He says, I don't care if Mary had a little lamb. You simply let her play. If she asks you a question, answer it. Let her play. And that's what I'm doing with my grandson. And he did the Thomas trains with the wooden tracks.
Mm-hmm.
This kid, he would put together some pretty complicated double, triple tracks and he would do it on his own. If he needed help and asked me, I would help him. Like we had a hard time clicking something together. Hey, Grandpa, I can't click this. So I go over and click it and then back off, not say, oh, just put this one here, put that one there, and it'll make it. No, he was able to be creative in his play because he was connected to his emotional body. He knew what he wanted. He wanted those tracks to go together, da 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 da, and he did it himself. I bought him Hot Wheels when he was real little, around 2, and I bought the Hot Wheels, took them out of the package, gave it to him, and then shut up. It's like I didn't tell him which way is front, which way is backwards, sideways. And all I did was fish the Hot Wheels out from underneath the couch when he zinged them underneath the couch. Okay, I'll get the Hot Wheels for you. That kid Solomon became proficient in maneuvering these Hot Wheels. He would fast, slow, curve. It was just incredible without any instruction. This is how you do it right, kid. This is what you do to make the Hot Wheels look right. No, I never said a word to him, and I just watched. I'm not saying I wasn't frustrated. I'm just saying I watched, and like I said, fished him out from underneath the couch, and he became proficient in Hot Wheels. He had good eye-hand coordination. He became efficient in the Thomas trains. Now he's jumping. He wants to jump and twist and jump off of things and play tag and hide and seek and Nerf gun stuff. And I just let him play. And that's what, Waldorf schools. He
I
goes
was
to a
going to say,
Waldorf.
I was just thinking that talk about the enlightened. Here you are turning into Rudolf Steiner right before our very eyes.
He goes to a Waldorf school where he may have a textbook in the 8th grade, a math book, a grammar book, reading, writing, arithmetic. Now, it's not to say that these children don't learn that. If they want to, I was talking to his teacher, and this is when he was 5, about writing and reading. And she said, well, one of the 7-year-olds taught herself to read. Oh, okay. And Rudolf Steiner is big on age appropriate learning. The mind of a child, 5-year-old, isn't ready to do ABCs. Mary Had a Little Lamb. It wants to play. That mind is playful. And in the play, and they tell them stories, and they role play, they dress up and play characters in the story, like the princess and the king and the knight and the goblin in the woods, or the green man, whatever. And they act out these stories, and they're being nurtured into their authenticity because it's there. All we gotta do is let it grow. It's like, and I'm excited for him. He last year picked up skiing. His mother took him on a ski slope on the little. He skied, and she took videos, and he skied for 7 hours. I want to go back. I want to go back. And she just let him until he got exhausted, tired. I don't want to do it anymore. And she showed me a video of this 6-year-old with the teacher going, do this, do that. And he goes, I want to go fast. He said right in the video, I want to go fast. And he just took off past the instructor and doing his maneuvering like he was told to do. Amazing. Amazing.
As you were describing the Hot Wheels situation, I was thinking about how many of us grow up and we say, I'm not good at learning that, or right. I'm no good at math, or whatever it is. And I wonder if that isn't related to some kind of intervention that occurred in our education, where we might have been told, you're not working hard enough at math, or whatever it is. And we kind of went, well, fuck you. I'm not going to, fine. Maybe I'm no good at it. And then I stopped applying myself.
I have an experience, Catholic school, first grade, spelling bee. I got out and got eliminated in the four-letter words. It's like, and then I'm like, holy cow, I'm stupid. No, I'm dyslexic. I don't do words. I don't do sounds. They don't. It's like that. What I do is intuitive. What I do is well create what I've created in the intentional living. What I do is in the visionary part of life, not in the ABCs. It's like good thing for grammar and spell check on a computer. Otherwise, I'm just going to type, and I go through and do all the corrections because I got spell check. And when I'm writing on the board, I just spell it the way I think it should be because I don't want to spend time trying to figure out how do I do this right. No, it's okay. That might be misspelled, and I thought you needed to know how to spell to be a teacher. I was sorely wrong because I am a teacher and I don't know how to spell, and that's okay. It's like I'm fine with that.
You and Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, or Einstein. He didn't know how to count change. It's like I thought about that the other day, and he probably just didn't care. He didn't care if you kept an extra 25 cents. And what does it mean to him? He's like into relativity and cosmic shit. He doesn't care about 25 cents. So
Yeah, he knows it. He knows that 25 cents times the speed of light squared equals energy.
it's insignificant. Yes, yes. So I like who I am, how I process, and it's not something that was rewarded in school. I was not rewarded in school. Um, and school was actually another traumatic experience for me. And now it's like I'm good. I'm good with how I learn, how I see, because how I learn and how I see and how I put things together is vital to my community because I do it in my unique way. You do it, Marty, in your that's what makes us such a good pair. We're not the same. We have different come froms, we have different capacities, we have different capabilities. And in this flow, in this acceptance of each other, it's like there's magic happens on this podcast. It's really cool.
Yeah, I had to laugh when you said
I'm
what you
excited.
said as another survivor of Catholic school. And I shouldn't say survivor because I actually loved it. I thrived in it, and I was rewarded because I was smart and I could pick up stuff, not math, but
Right.
I could pick up
Okay.
I could pick up the left brain stuff pretty well, English and art and those kinds of things. So history.
Yeah, and then well, I don't know where I'm at on your screen. I'm on the right hand side, but it's like this left hand, right hand brain stuff works really good.
Yeah. Well,
but that's in harmony.
Well, that's the power though of accountability because it helped me integrate. And you know that I'm a big fan of Ken Wilber and integral theory, but the challenge, and that's why I wrote this book, because the challenge with integral theory, it's very mental and philosophical and analytical, and that's fine, and I love that stuff. But and Wilber actually says this, it's not just analytical, but he doesn't have accountability, so he doesn't know how to help people find the energetic truth within to go to integration. So body, mind, soul, feeling, thinking, spiriting, intuiting, creating, all of those things are, as you said earlier, from my perspective, one activity. There's one activity with these different energetic vibratory properties and interplay, and they're always in motion, but there's only one thing going on. But our mind is capable of saying, no, there's not, there's three, they're separate.
Right.
And so, as we've talked about in this podcast in the past, this is an evolutionary trajectory that we're on. That's why I love accountability, because it may be, who knows, it may be the evolutionary breakthrough that allows experiential integration of body, mind, soul. not as a
Yes.
thought, but as an actual embodied experience that we can look back at after it occurs and go, oh, now I'm going to explain. That's what the brain does. I'm going to explain what happened, but it's already
Yep.
happened. It's
Yes.
already come in consciousness.
Yeah.
And then we watch, oh, look at it's just like with the feeling of dread. Oh, I'm feeling dread. We can also develop the consciousness and go, oh, look, my mind is explaining stuff.
Yep.
We can see that this is, oh, look at how all that works together. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
And so a kid like Solomon is getting a head start over most of us because we didn't get that level of acceptance when we were 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right.
We were busy defending shit.
Right. He is in my day job, drug and alcohol treatment. The goal of the treatment center for the client is emotional regulation, frustration tolerance, delayed gratification, and impulse control. that's what he's learning. He's learning how to regulate his he was sad, so he thought, well, the dog was hurt, so that's sad too. And then you go, and he like match up the expression with the what is the feeling supposed, and he was emotionally regulating. When he says, I want 2 cookies, and I say no, he's learning frustration tolerance and delayed gratification. He's not being punished because he's a glutton, because he's a no good,
Selfish.
selfish little shit. No, 2 cookies sound good. 2 cookies sound good to me. It's like, okay, it's like, why not 2 cookies? Well, right now, based on your nutritional needs, we're gonna wait till after dinner. No, I don't want to. And I said, okay, it's okay if you don't want to. I hear you saying you don't want to. It's okay that you don't want to. I don't like you. And I said, it's okay. It's okay that you don't like me. And I'm seeing you're frustrated. I'm not frustrated. I said, okay. It's like, and I don't punish him
Right.
for expressing his whatever feeling he's in. There's a firmness. It's like, no, we're not going to have a second cookie, and you're not going to be ostracized from me. You're not going to be isolated because you have this urge.
Well, it's a version of nothing's wrong.
Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong.
Or it's actually, let me say it for accountability. It's a practical expression of nothing's wrong.
Yes.
It's not a theory there. It's a practice.
Yes.
Yeah. Just like the practice of no blame, no judgment.
See, when I give that to him in his childhood, when I do the accountability process I'm giving that to me as an adult.
Good.
I'm being the loving parent, firm, but loving parent. I see you're feeling frustrated, or I see you're angry, or I see you're confused, or I see you're don't know, and it's okay, and I want. And it's that integration of the trauma, because it's not going to go away. It's not going to like it not happened, because it did happen. Only it will be reframed. It will be relieved. It will be expressed. There will be a proactive aspect to the trauma, where before it was all reactive. It was stuff.
Yeah, and it will be validated and it will be accepted, and that's how we get to integration.
Yes.
Is through acceptance and validation, and then ultimately, for me, it's like it comes to love. It's like I love my character defects.
Yeah.
I revel in them. I enjoy my life. I enjoy all the stuff inside of me, and including the stuff that sometimes yanks me this way and that way. And it's like, oh, ooh, it's like an amusement park. Wow.
And a lot of my proclivities, I see that endear me to my children. It's like, oh, Dad, there you go again. It's like one time I was on a diet and my daughter opened the shelf and I had like 24 packages of rice cakes. And she goes, you think you got enough, Dad? And it's like, well, no, there you have it. I'll make sure I don't run out of rice cakes.
Well, we almost ran out of toilet paper, so
yeah.
once upon a time. So you never know.
Yeah. So
Well, our hour is coming to an end here, and as always, like to offer you the chance for the last word.
One of the things I've learned to say to myself when I find myself in a avoidant behavior, I'm either being mean or sarcastic, is that I'm doing the best I can with the information I have. And if I simply own my behavior instead of judging, like, oh, I shouldn't do that. No, I just did that. I was sarcastic. Yeah. Okay, I'm sarcastic. There's a resonance that happens, and I do that with no blame or judgment, and I find myself different. And then I can readjust after that to fine tune where I want to be, who I want to be, the state of being I say I want to be in. I'm in control of what goes on internally. Yeah.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
To particularly people who might be listening to this for the first time, we didn't talk much about it in this particular podcast, but there are groups, accountability groups that John facilitates, I facilitate, others facilitate that help us actually engage in this process, this practice in going into the truth of what's going on in our lives, particularly those things that we don't like, particularly when we're dealing with wanting something and not getting it. Yeah. And so these groups that meet are a very practical, focused opportunity for us to learn about ourselves through this accountability practice. We didn't formally outline it today, but many of the other podcasts that are available here on YouTube go into the basics. And who knows, we might go into the basics next week. Yeah. So at the end of the podcast, there'll be a card with John's email address and mine. Please feel free to shoot us a note if you'd like to know about how to get to some of these meetings. They're all on Zoom right now, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can join us. So appreciate you, John, as always. Appreciate this opportunity to be together and explore this fascinating thing we call life.
Yeah. Thank you, Marty. I appreciate it.
I'll see you next week.